What does it say about us as a nation when accusations travel faster than truth, but accountability never catches up? For over a decade, what came to be known as the coal allocation controversy was not just about policy. It became something far more serious. It became a moral indictment. Names were taken, motives were assigned, guilt was assumed, and all of this happened not in a courtroom, but in the court of public opinion. At the center of this storm stood a man known for his silence, his scholarship, and above all, his integrity. Manmohan Singh. A man who had spent decades building a reputation for personal honesty suddenly found himself defending not just decisions, but his character. Fast forward to March 27, 2026. In the Bandar coal block case, a special court acquitted former MP Vijay Darda, his son Devendra Darda, former coal secretary H.C. Gupta, and others. But this was not just another acquittal. The court did not merely say that the prosecution failed to prove its case. It went much further. It stated that the Central Bureau of Investigation had failed miserably, that the case was built on conjectures, not evidence, that there was not even an iota of proof of corruption, no evidence of influence, no illegal gain. For H.C. Gupta, the court granted what it called an honorable acquittal, noting there was absolutely no wrongdoing, not even a meeting of minds. Now pause and think about this. At the time these allocations were made, the coal ministry was directly under the Prime Minister. That Prime Minister was Manmohan Singh. The administrative chain, the approvals, the oversight, all pointed upwards, which is why the allegations did not remain confined to bureaucrats or industrialists. They cast a long and damaging shadow on the Prime Minister himself. But there is an important distinction we must not ignore. Years earlier, in 2014, the Supreme Court of India had cancelled 204 coal block allocations, calling the process arbitrary and non-transparent. That judgment spoke to administrative lapses, to procedure, to how decisions were made. What we are seeing now, in contrast, is the collapse of something far more serious, the allegation of criminal intent. And the two are not the same. Yet, in public discourse, they were often treated as one. This is not the first time such a narrative has unraveled. We saw it earlier in the 2G Spectrum case, once projected as one of the biggest corruption scandals in India's history. Years later, the courts found no evidence that could stand legal scrutiny. But by then, the narrative had already done its work. Reputations had been damaged. Public perception had been shaped. Political outcomes had been influenced. And perhaps most importantly, trust had been eroded. What we witnessed over the years was not just investigation or accountability, it was amplification. A media ecosystem that often rushed to conclusions, self-appointed moral guardians who converted allegations into convictions, political voices that found opportunity in outrage. Complex governance decisions were reduced to simplistic accusations of corruption, and in that noise, nuance disappeared, due process was forgotten, and individuals were judged long before they were heard. Today, when courts are quietly dismantling those very narratives, there is a silence. But it is not just silence. Many of the loudest voices from that period have since moved on into new political alignments, new institutional roles, or even private life, which makes accountability for that narrative far more diffused and far more difficult to locate. And that makes the silence even more telling, because this is not just about legal acquittals. It is about moral responsibility. Dr. Manmohan Singh was not just criticized, he was diminished. In the public imagination, a man once seen as the embodiment of integrity was repeatedly portrayed as complicit, weak, or worse. And today, that narrative is steadily collapsing. The question is, will we acknowledge it? Because institutions may take years to deliver justice, but society does not need a court order to admit it got something wrong. Restoring dignity does not require a legal framework. It requires honesty, it requires courage, and sometimes it begins with a simple act, an apology, or at the very least, an acceptance that in our haste to judge, we may have blurred the line between procedural failure and personal guilt. So perhaps the real question is not whether the courts have spoken, they have. The real question is, will we?